When the relationship series came out and the card and everything, it had the different sermons and the dates and everything. When I look down at the single one, it kind of makes you feel awkward if you're a single person. Makes you kind of say, well, man, I don't even know if I want to sit through that. But when you think about it, or when I think about it, singleness, that's a fact about me, but it doesn't define who I am. And I guess if I was going to speak to other single people that were experiencing that, I'm a lot more comfortable with that now than I used to be in the past. But there's just a few things that I would say that you got to be careful of, mistakes that I made in the past that you shouldn't make. And the first one is that don't let singleness be a stumbling block to you. Use it for a springboard. Because I know sometimes it can really discourage you. It can even bring you to the point where you're thinking or saying to yourself, what's wrong with me? But that's what Satan wants to steal, kill, and destroy. And sometimes to a single person, he'll use that singleness, that one thing that you don't have. And that's what I did. God had blessed me in so many other ways, but I let that one thing overshadow it. Now I try to not let that happen, but use it, the advantages to being single. The more time, the more opportunity, things that other people that aren't, they can't use that. So use it for a springboard to be out there and serve God. Don't let it get you down. Another thing for me is I used to be more concerned about hooking up. Now I'm more concerned about making sure I'm centered up, right in God's will. Because when you're plotting, scheming, and planning and playing the game, you kind of can get lost in the shuffle and forget about God. Whereas the more important thing to do is make sure you're centered up in God's will and focused on His kingdom, and all that other stuff is going to come. And I guess the fourth thing for me that I've really learned just in the last few months and everything about singleness is don't just use it for this time of waiting. That may be part of it, but don't make it solely just a time to sit there waiting on God to hold up His end, or waiting on this wonderful person to come into your life. I would recommend that you use it for a time of preparing. And the only way I can relate that is from a guy's perspective. If you look at Proverbs 31, it talks about a virtuous woman, and it says she's more valuable than rubies. And just the way I know to illustrate it, if you look in the Bible, at the time when God was looking to replace the king, He sought out David and He found him. And the reason that He saw David and made him the king was because what He saw in his heart. So I imagine this virtuous woman that's so valuable to God, and He's looking for somebody to entrust her, a man out there, and I see Him scanning hearts. And just for me, I started looking at it as, when He scans my heart, what does He see? And I come to the point where I just wanted God to search me, and that's a scary thing. But when you get serious with God, even if it's bad, you want Him to show it to you so you can deal with it. So I started looking more at that. Instead of worrying about this person that you want God to bring, worry about you, something that you can control, and just work on being a person that God would want to connect this other person with. And for a man, if you look at what the Bible talks about a husband should be, that you should be a leader, a provider, a protector, and I would look at that, working on those things, even while you're single. Don't wait till you find somebody, someone comes in your life. Just go ahead and be working on those things, and ask God to search you and see, well, what about my spiritual maturity? What about my emotional maturity, or even socially? And what God shows you or what you learn, go to work on those things. But last of all, for me, it's the love that God said, working on that, how to love people. He said a husband should love his wife the way Jesus loved the church. And that means laying your life down, a selfless love. It means a sacrificial love and an unconditional. So you got a lot of stuff you can be doing while you're waiting on the one that is also not just going to be during that waiting time, but if you're preparing, you're going to be further in the kingdom of God if you'll focus on all those things. And no matter what happens to you, then that will help you to be valuable and used by God during that time.